Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be detailing a technique that you can use to add to your DM toolkit, which is called progress clocks. Now before we start, remember to cast Finger of Death on that flumphing subscribe button and power word kill that like button. You can use this preparation technique, not just for Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder, but any game where someone wants something but is having trouble getting it. Once again, I'm referencing John Harper's immensely awesome Blades in the Dark RPG, wherein there is a mechanic known as clocks. At its core, clocks are intended to track the progression of events or count down until an event occurs. In our case, we're going to be focusing on the former, tracking the progression of an event or a goal. At a small scale, you might use a 4-segment or a 6-segment clock to track the alertness of guards during a stealth mission. If this was D&D 5e, you could tick the clock each time the PCs fail a check, and once it's full, the entire keep goes on alert. I like to use this model in some instances, but I prefer using progress clocks for larger schemes and plots that are going on in a campaign. Great, to provide a quick visual, I wanted to use this because my handwriting is terrible and I can't draw. So anyway, here's what a index card might look like if I were to be using this in a game session. Let's say the party was trying to sneak into a mansion of some kind and steal an artifact. I would write this out, and this could be public knowledge, or this could be just secret behind the DM screen. It's totally up to you, just to easily and quickly keep track of the proceedings of an event. So this is the case where they're stealthing. If they, let's say the DC was 15, and they roll stealth for a group and they get an average of 13. So that means this would get filled in once, they fail again, you'd get filled in again, they fail again, and then it's full. Now the guards are on alert. So that's how it would be used very simply and very quickly in a standard game of D&D or any RPG where you need to track something happening. Ahead will be potential spoilers for, while I scratch my eyebrow. Ahead will be potential spoilers for the Ghost of Saltmarsh campaign book. So if you're going to be playing in that setting in the future, or you are one of my current players in that campaign, please avert your gaze now. Without further ado, here is how I am using progress clocks in my current campaign. Primarily, I'm using it to track progression of various factions and their goals. For example, here I have a cult of Yuan-Ti who worship Sertrus, a powerful abyssal creature from the Greyhawk setting. They are a faction or a group that has a specific goal: to unleash Sertrus upon the mortal realm once again. Below the goal, I have a brief description of the faction and how they will appear in play. So, blah blah blah, the Vanguard is trying to uncover the bones of the Forgotten King, yada yada. Throughout the region, there will be pockets of the Vanguard seeking information on the bones of the Forgotten King, utilizing their own Yuan-Ti purebloods to infiltrate the various settlements. So that's kind of how it'll be in the narrative and how the players might encounter this group. So keeping their end goal in mind of unleashing Sertrus upon the world, they have to complete some steps first in order to get this done. As for the speed of how quickly these things progress, in my case, I just decided it would be quick and easy to just have it be once per day. The progression ticks up. Where were we? Right here. Yeah, every day, the next goal will tick forward one time, and that's it. Nice and simple. You can have it go up 2 times. You can have it go up once a week. The pace can totally be set by you. Alternatively, you can decide on the progression with a roll the dice. You can try a d20. For example, you might do 11 to 19, they progress 1 step. 2 to 10, they don't progress at all. A natural 1, they go back 1 step. And on a natural 20, they go forward 2 steps. This is just an example. You can have the results be however you want them to be. It's up to you completely. So the first step is fairly easy. They just need to find where the bones of the Forgotten King are. I know where they are in my head. They're in a location, in some dungeon of some kind, maybe. It doesn't really matter right now. They're looking for them. They're trying to find out where they are. This is a fairly easy task. It's only going to take them about 4 days to accomplish this. Then they need to actually get the bones from this location, which is going to be another 6 days. Then they need to gather the components for the sacrament, which is going to be difficult and take a long time. And at this point as well, their activities are going to be quite conspicuous as well. So in the case that the player characters aren't aware at all of what's going on, in this point, they will begin to become aware. So people will begin disappearing. There'll be a lot of activity in the town. Maybe people have been getting kidnapped. Like, they're getting more persistent as they get closer to the goal. So you can kind of tweak each of these progressions and each of these steps to affect the world in different ways. Make it known that whatever plot this is happening is affecting the world around them. You don't just want this to be in the background with them being completely unaware of what's happening. You want them to be able to thwart it or set it back or even just learn of it at all. It'll feel unfair if these things are kind of progressing without any indication of what the heck they can do to stop it, right? Because most of the time, heroes are heroes. They're going to try to help. And it's really important. This is actually a good way of using this is, let's say you drop a plot hook for somebody who needs to get rescued, or perhaps let's say there's a bandit camp near a town and the government is concerned with it. They're like, hey, these people are getting harassed on the roads and these bandits are profiting off it and our trade is suffering. Can you guys help us out? And they're like, nah, let's go, we're going to go dungeon delve and do something else. Then things are going to happen. So that would be a way for you to take that hook that's happening, lay it out like this. Okay, what's going to happen next? Let's see. Okay, they're going to rob more people. Maybe they get more powerful. Maybe they go and they take over the town, right? It's going to get worse and worse unless someone does something. So, but you want them to be aware. That's the main thing, is that you want them to be aware of this thing that's happening. And in the case that they do find out and they do begin to interact with this, all the steps that have been taken thus far in a certain step, they can be changed. You can go back in time, or you can go back in the steps. Let's say in terms of these bones, for example, let's say the party finds them first, then these steps are going to change. Let's say the bones have been uncovered and they're there at the same time. They have to fight for it, right? Things are going to change as this progression goes. It could be more of a subtle plot where there's like some subterfuge going on and maybe they find evidence for this person's shady dealings. Bringing that to light would set back their steps if this other group or faction was trying to sow discord in a town or something like that. The PCs can interact with this. It can go up or it can go down depending if they help or hinder it. The last thing you need as part of a plot or one of these schemes is that you need a way for the player characters to completely stop it. There is one key linchpin individual or artifact that will dismantle the entire thing if it's destroyed. Maybe, like, for example, eliminating Sulfogrin will dismantle the plot, or by finding the bones and destroying them before the Vanguard can. That would completely stop the plot. However, maybe it'll change and it'll morph into the enemies going after the party now, and it can kind of turn into something different, right? Give a way for it to be completely stopped or resolved in some way. Now, as a bonus, I wanted to include this other sort of slider situation here. I thought it was kind of really nice for if there's some sort of war or a two-sided conflict. In Saltmarsh, there are two factions. There's the Traditionalists and the Loyalists, and they both want different things, and they're directly opposed to one another. And in this case, if the PCs interact more with the Loyalists and support their cause, then this slider is going to increase in the orange side. If they help the Traditionalists, they will progress that the other way. The main point of it in this setting is that there are these two factions that are kind of at odds and they're stuck. There's a stalemate. And the player characters are kind of this deciding factor as to what's going to happen and how it's going to change. So depending on their actions in the game, this will kind of shift and change. And you could, and I think I might do this honestly, is set up at each point something significant will change. So for example, maybe more soldiers show up. Maybe there's less banditry, less piracy, some more trade kind of comes in, or with the Traditionalists, more Loyalists leave, the mine kind of suffers. Things like that can change at each section when a shift happens. Just another bonus way to kind of track that kind of change. If this was in a bigger conflict, let's say it was maybe a war, there could be two sides facing one another, like Athens and Sparta in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. In that case, there's just one assassin who's going in and taking out different areas and kind of changing the flow of the warfare with one group instead of the other. And this can be shown in many different ways. It can be shown in the game, and if the PCs are directly interacting with it, this would be a good way to kind of track that. So I hope this video has helped you. I wanted it to just be quick and helpful and kind of give you a way to keep track of things that are happening in the game, because you don't necessarily want it to be just where everything is hinged on the PCs. You want the world to feel alive and to change as things happen. You can use this in any campaign where there's something that's kind of happening. Whether the PCs interact with it or not, just make sure that they do know that it is happening. So you can use it in Storm King's Thunder. Maybe after a certain point, if they don't go to this giant area that they've heard about, the giants come out and they destroy some towns. You can use it for so many different cases in so many different ways, and I really, really like it, and I'm going to try it out in my campaign and see how it goes. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I hope you like this video, and if you have any other suggestions for future stuff, or if you want some sort of other DM toolkit suggestions, let me know, because I'm going to be putting out a few more, hopefully, that are quick and helpful and advice oriented. So thank you, and have a wonderful night.